Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron PHEW. Thank for that. It is the instant match reaction. Doncaster Rovers 1, Everton 2 in the second round of the Carabao Cup. Sean Dyche's side scraped through against the team that are currently bottom of League 2 with a 2-1 victory to progress into the next round of the Cup after one of, if not the most embarrassing and worst performance I've ever witnessed as an Evertonian, or just generally as a football fan in that first half. The manager made some changes. He brought on Beto for his debut. He brought on Garner Gay, and Everton were ultimately much, much better for that in the second half. Beto was absolutely outstanding. Got his debut goal, of course, which got Everton back into the game. Could have easily had a hat-trick on another day. He had one header that was rattled off the post, which was incredibly unlucky. He scored one right at the end of the game with the last kick of the game that was deemed offside. It was offside, but if Garner Gay had have slid him in a couple of seconds earlier, he would have been onside, and I'm pretty confident he would have finished it in the exact same way. So he was absolutely phenomenal. Granted, we were playing against the side that obviously are struggling in League 2 at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes in the Premier League. I'm sure he will get his first start for the football club on Sunday based upon that performance tonight. But his physicality, his presence, his battle, his ability to put himself about, put his weight about, aerially he was good. He was at it. He wanted the ball. He was making good runs. He was pushing himself about, as I said, forcing himself onto defenders. And I think those are all traits that will translate into the Premier League, regardless of who you're playing. Okay, if he'd have scored 5 tonight, then we might have sat there and gone, do you know what, maybe that won't be the case on Sunday. But his physicality and putting himself about, as I said, using his body, using his strength, using his size, I'm sure that's something he'll be able to do in the Premier League, which is fantastic. And as I said, he come on, he really made the difference. He was given man of the match by Sky Sports, and absolutely rightly so. And for me, he is, potentially saved the manager's job tonight. As I said, that first half was quite possibly the worst half of football I've ever witnessed as an Evertonian, and I've watched Everton Football Club for 25 years, and I've seen some bad halves, and I'm not just saying that for effect. I'm not just saying that to try and dramatise the situation, but if you watch that game of football, I'm pretty sure you will agree that that was truly, truly terrible. And for me, the manager had to take responsibility for that. He did. I understand that a lot of these players might not be good enough for the expectation that we demand as Evertonians. I understand that a lot of these players might not be up to the level that we expect. However, there's an argument to be had that these players aren't Premier League quality. There's definitely an argument to be had about that. There's an argument to be had that these players aren't mid-table Premier League quality, and that's why when we lose games in the Premier League, the manager is always backed and he's always supported by the fact that these players aren't good enough, and that's fair and that's understandable. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, I'm not Sean Dyche out. I'm not somebody that particularly cares whether or not the manager leaves the football club. I've said it before, I've said it again. If he left tonight, I wouldn't be bothered, and we've just won the game, because I'm over and done with Everton being really, really bad at football. And I understand the supporters of the manager. I understand those Evertonians that get behind him. And as I said, there's definitely an argument to be had that a lot of this playing squad aren't at that level we need them to be week in, week out in the Premier League. But I'm sorry, I will not sit there and take from anybody that these players aren't at the level to be able to compete against Doncaster Rovers. And no disrespect to Doncaster, but they're a side that was sat bottom of League 2 this evening. They are sat bottom of the sort of bottom league, if you like. I don't want to say the worst league, so I don't want to be disrespectful, but the bottom league in the whole of the football pyramid, meaning out of the 92 sides, they are ranked at the worst of all of those 92 sides at the moment. And whilst there's an argument to be had that these Everton players aren't good enough to compete in the Premier League or to put us where we want to be in the Premier League, there's absolutely no argument that these players aren't good enough to compete against the side that are rock bottom of League 2. They're more than good enough. And the reason they weren't performing is because the manager wasn't able to get the most out of these players, and the manager has to take responsibility for that. It's as simple as that. You can be the biggest Sean Dyche supporter on the planet. I just see and say it exactly how it is. And the fact of the matter is, in that first half, the manager takes responsibility for everything. because he is the one that sets them up. He is the one that needs to build their confidence. He is the one that should be setting that team up with more than enough quality and more than enough instruction to be able to go out and comfortably. I'm not saying go out and be 4, 5, 6-0 up at half time. Just look comfortable in the game. Even if we went in 0-0 at half time, you know, we could have looked comfortable and we'd have all been sat there going, yeah, do you know what, this is, you know, okay, it's a bit frustrating we've not scored, but, you know, it's been a fairly comfortable half. It was the opposite to that. We were absolutely terrible, and Doncaster could have been 2 or 3-0 up and maybe deserved to have been 2 or 3-0 up in that first half. Okay, the goal that they ultimately scored was about 3 mile offside, and I thought the officials had an absolutely terrible afternoon. A terrible evening this evening. I think Doncaster had the shout for a penalty that, if it was in the Premier League, it would have been given. As I said, the goal that they scored was miles offside, and if VAR had been in play, it would have been disallowed. Beto had one where he keeps the ball in and he puts a ball across the box to Ashley Young, who is stood on his own and would have almost certainly put it past the goalkeeper, and the linesman flagged for it being out of play, and it was nowhere near out of play. The whole ball was pretty much in play. So, yeah, the officials were absolutely terrible tonight, but that wasn't an excuse as to why we were so bad. We were so bad because ultimately the manager failed to set these players up, you know, in a capable manner of going out and looking good against a team that are bottom of League Two, and that for me is a massive worry. You know, we had Premier League proven players in there: Amadou Onana, Nathan Patterson, James Garner, Ben Godfrey, Michael Keane, Jordan Pickford. These are all players that have played frequently in the Premier League. You know, Dan Juma was in there. I know Lewis Dobbin and Yusuf Chimiti are a little bit less experienced, but that team should have been more than good enough to hold their own in that first half, and they didn't. They were absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible, and the manager was forced to make changes, because if Everton had lost that game today, and if Everton had performed in the second half as we did in the first half, then I would have found it massively difficult to make a case for this manager continuing, you know, on in the job. I really would have, because we can sit there all we like and we can criticise the recruitment and the ownership for the negligence of the squad in terms of it not being good enough for the Premier League, but I'm sorry, that squad is more than good enough to have beaten a team that are rock bottom of League Two. And it made it difficult. It did make it difficult. Having said that, I said in the game preview, and I'll say it again, it was always going to be a really difficult game. The reason this game was on Sky Sports wasn't just because it was a random, oh yeah, we'll put one of those games on. What one should we pick? We'll pick Doncaster versus Everton. Not a chance. The reason it was on Sky Sports is because Sky expected a giant killing, because there was absolutely no pressure tonight on Doncaster Rovers, even though they're bottom of League Two, even though they've had a poor start to the season, even though you know, they're not a particularly great football team. They had no pressure on them. The expectation from the general footballing world, not Evertonians, because I don't think any Evertonian expected this to happen, but the expectation from the general footballing world would be that Everton would turn up, wipe the floor with them. Even though we've had a bad start to the season, we'd turn up, we'd wipe the floor with them, and that would kickstart our season. But that was never going to happen. And internally, as I said, that sorry, pardon me, internally, that meant that there was no pressure on Doncaster, and all of the pressure was on Everton. And as we spoke about after the Wolves game, the more pressure that is on this squad, the more pressure that is on these players, the less confident they become, the more chances they miss, then in turn, in missing the chances, they become even less confident, the pressure increases even more, and it just becomes a melting pot for failure. And we saw that in that first 45 minutes today. Everton were absolutely horrendous, but it wasn't a shock. Doncaster went in rightfully ahead, not rightfully for the goal because it was miles offside, but they deserved their lead. You know, if Everton had gone in 0-0 in that first half, then it would have been, you know, we would have been incredibly lucky to do that. But like I said, the pressure was quite evident there. The manager had to make changes at half-time. It's as simple as that. That was the biggest 45 minutes of his Everton career so far. If he would have lost that, he would have lost an awful lot of support, and there would have been an awful lot of Blues that would have ultimately said, listen, you know, again, where do we go from here? And I know some people will say, calling for the manager to get sacked is ludicrous. The reality of the situation is I don't blame the manager for these players not being good enough. I don't. I blame them. I blame the recruitment team for that. I don't blame the manager for the fact that a lot of these players aren't at the level that we need them to be at. I don't blame them at all. However, the job of a football manager, whether you are a Premier League manager, whether you're a League Two manager, whether you're the best manager in the world, the job of a football manager is to get the best out of your squad. Now, there's an argument to be had that Sean Dyche was getting the best out of this Everton team in those opening 2 home games of the season. We created chances, we were the better team, but we just didn't have a goal scorer. But we lost those games. And the reality is, I simply cannot sit there and accept that the manager was getting the best out of that squad in that first half today. I can't. I understand the players aren't good enough. I understand the players ultimately need to be better. I get all of that. But they're better than that level. You know, Doncaster are rock bottom of League 2. So to suggest that it's the players' fault would suggest that these players are Conference League players, National League North players, which is just not the case. And if that is the case, then Kevin Thelwell and the recruitment team should be held responsible for signing players that are at Conference League level. So someone has to take responsibility for that. Ultimately, the manager made changes at half-time as he needed to. He had to. He brought on Ghana Guy, he brought on Beto, he brought on Ashley Young, and I think the three of them completely changed the game. Everton were much better in the second half. Maybe there was a team talk at half-time. Again, to credit the manager, he made the changes, and ultimately we come out on much better side in the second half. Maybe he'll come in his interview today and say, I said to them at half-time, you're not doing anything I've told you to, whereas in the second half they did, and that's why we were much better. Like I said, Beto come on and instantly Everton improved. This fella looks, and again, don't want to get too ahead of myself because we are only, 45 minutes into his Everton career, and we've only played a League 2 side, but he looks like he could be somebody that is massively, massively important to this football club over the course of the next 9 months of this Premier League season. He's big, he's physical, he puts himself about, he commands, he's not afraid to get on the ball. And do you know what really, really caught my eye? He had an opportunity just before he scored, literally a minute before he scored, where the ball was put into the box. I think Danjuma held it up, he rolled it off to Beto, and Beto sliced it. He was off balance, he sliced it, and it went wide, and I think their fans started to sing, what a waste of money, and it was a bit groany, and it was a bit like, oh, that was his real first big chance as an Everton player, and he sliced it. And he looked visibly angry at himself. He looked visibly wound up at the fact that he'd had that opportunity, and he'd missed it. He didn't walk away with a smile on his face and go, oh, well, I'm getting 60 grand for this, so it's all right. He looked wound up. He goes off. 30 seconds later, he gets another chance. It's a great ball. Don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic ball. But the run from Beto is brilliant. He outstrengthens his man. He outruns him. His pace is there. The keeper comes running out, and it's a really, really smart finish. It's not an easy finish that from the angle he was at, and from the fact that he didn't have control of the ball because he hadn't touched the ball. It was a difficult finish. He knocks it past the goalkeeper. He makes it 1-1, and you could tell that chance that he'd missed beforehand was obviously playing on his mind a little bit and obviously wound him up, and he went and got his goal literally instantly after that. As I said, in the meantime, Doncaster, I think at this point, had lost a little bit of confidence. They'd lost a little bit of their rhythm. They weren't as in the game as they was beforehand. Ashley Young, I think, come on and made a big difference. Just his experience and his professionalism, holding the ball up, keeping the ball. Obviously, Ghana Guy done the same as well. I thought Ghana Guy was really, really good when he come on, really experienced. And yeah, like I said, we continue to do that. You know, it was almost like a flat track bully performance by Beto. He put himself about, he threw himself about, he caused issues, and in turn he caused space for other players to open up and for other players to get opportunities. James Garner was getting forward more. Beto hits the post with the header, good ball in. It's an unbelievable header. It's just unfortunate that it hits the post. And we're continuing to, get forward, and we're looking much better, and we're looking much more in control, and we're looking much more like the Premier League side at this point. And then, as I said, 5 minutes to go. Mopai comes on at this point, does well, holds the ball up, rolls it to Danjuma. Danjuma walks it across the box and fires it into the bottom corner, and it's a fantastic, fantastic goal, and it's ultimately the winner for Everton. As I said, we could have had the third. Ghana Guy drives it into the box, and for me, again, I'm not going to get too hung up on it because we've won the game, and as I said, on the preview yesterday, that's all that matters. But I don't really understand what Garner's doing. He should either pass the ball to Beto earlier when he's onside, or when he didn't pass it to Beto earlier, I thought, right, well, he's going to go and take a shot. And I don't mind it because it's the end of the game. We're winning anyway. He's done well in the second half, have a shot. But he doesn't. He drives it. He takes it into a position where he can't pass it. He has to shoot. and then he passes it. Why not pass it 5 seconds earlier when he was onside and when he would have scored and it would have made it 3-1? Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, we pretty much consoled the second half. They had a couple of hairy moments. Pickford made a couple of saves in the second, and they had a couple of moments where defensively we just looked shaky. I thought Mikalenko was poor today. I thought James Garner was poor today. I thought Michael Keane was his usual self and proved once again why he shouldn't be anywhere near this Everton team. Again, I just think in that first half we were worryingly terrible. I thought Ben Godfrey was terrible today. But like I said, the manager changed it. We brought on Beto. We looked good. Chimiti, I thought, was quiet. Again, didn't have many chances, but his touch wasn't great and his hold-up play wasn't great. But again, inexperienced, young, and you can't half tell a difference between him and somebody like Beto, who's played it at sort of a high level and knows what he needs to do in terms of putting himself about and throwing his weight about, etc., etc. So, yeah, look, again, we've won the game. And ultimately, that's all that matters. We're in the half of the next round. The next round, I think, is taking place literally as we speak. It might even have taken place now. Let me just double check. But yeah, we're in the hat for the next round. Ultimately, that's all that matters. This might actually be the notification about the next round. Bear with me 2 seconds. No, it isn't. It hasn't been taken yet, so we'll wait and see for that one. We'll do a little video when it is obviously announced who will be playing in the third round. But yeah, as I said yesterday, it was always going to be a tough game, this, and ultimately, you always find it difficult when you come up against these sides with nothing to lose, that are on telly, know there's a big opportunity for them to, create the headlines, etc., etc., and especially when you've lost 3 games on the bounce and you haven't scored a single goal, that pressure and that confidence, well, the pressure was at an all-time high, the confidence was at an all-time low, and we just needed to go out and win. The first half was terrible. It was, and I think the manager has to take responsibility for that. But to be fair to him, he made the right changes. He brought on the right players, and ultimately we've gone and won it. And hopefully that is the start now of our, to kickstart our season. And I am willing to give Sean Dyche the benefit of the doubt. Now, we've got through that, not winning a game, not scoring a goal. I know it's only Doncaster. I know it's only the Cup. I get it's not the Premier League. I get all of that. But I really do believe in the fact that we just needed to win a game of football, regardless of whether it was in the league, regardless of whether it was in the cup. I really believe that this team just needed to feel what it was like to win again, to score goals, to come away with a good feeling that, we've won today. Hopefully we see that again on Sunday, and as I said, hopefully this is where we can kickstart our season now, because I think there was a lot, and that first half showed there was a lot of performers that just simply looked terrified because of how bad we've been recently, and hopefully this can change that a little bit. But yeah, there you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. The player ratings will be up shortly, so don't forget to look out for those. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. We will be back, as I said, with the player ratings and with a little video talking about the draw as well, so look out for that. But big thank you all for watching. Everton have won a game of footy. Everton have scored a goal, get in the half of the next round. Big thanks for watching. Like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.